So let's dive into injury risk and how exactly we can bring it as low as possible. And I say as low as possible because there's no 100% guaranteed way to make sure that you never ever get hurt. Even avoiding movement completely, like sitting your butt in bed all day, every day, guess what? You atrophy to the point where you start to have issues and pain from being in a fixed position. So it's kind of like you got to move at some point and just assume the risk. And the goal is to bring that risk down, 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 so that that way you have so many more good days than bad. All right. So that being said, what does contribute to injury? Like, what are the things that lead to getting hurt? And it's not just doing a movement and hearing pop or like a zing, and you're just like, I'm out for the count. Okay. A lot of times there are other things that lead up to that point that are the reason that it happens. And then you see this a lot too when it comes to, say, pain points on the body, where the thing that's screaming is usually not the source. Like, for example, if your lower back is just in agony all day and you're doing every stretch under the sun and it just does not work, but then you go ahead and you stretch the front of your thigh, or maybe you do some T-spine rotation work and all of a sudden it's gone. That's because the source was north or south of it and the pain point was just the indicator, not the reason it's happening. Same with injury in general. So what are some big things that come up? Number one is stress. When you are stressed out, your body acts in weird ways and it just wreaks havoc on your body. So stress management can be a huge, huge help when it comes to this. Sleep. There is a direct correlation when it comes to hours of sleep and injury instances. So if you want to guarantee that you are putting yourself in a really good spot to get hurt, just don't prioritize sleep. Accept the fact that your sleep sucks and just call it a day. Now, that being said, please don't do that. Please just do the best that you can. I know that a lot of people that listen are parents, especially with young kids, or they have animals or whatever, and they're barking or their kids are crying and they're waking up multiple times a night. I get it. I work with people just like you and I empathize. I'm just saying, do your best, not hit these arbitrary standards. Otherwise, you suck. No, it's if you can sacrifice one more episode on Netflix before going to bed and it doesn't take away from time with your significant other or something like that, then do it. If you can stick to a consistent bedtime, even though you're kind of all over the map right now because you're not really paying attention to it. But if you put some real dedication behind it, you probably could. Okay. Try and stick to a consistent sleep time and get into a nice rhythm, because that can help as well with quality of sleep too. Next is nutrition. Like, if your nutrition sucks and there's a lot of foods that are not putting your body in a position where it's fueled and feeling its best, it can potentially lead to getting injured. And then last but not least, the big one is load and graded exposure. So let's talk about that one today. When it comes to graded exposure, basically that means revving yourself up, like easing into it. A lot of times people get injured not because they have all these other things wrong, but because they just go way too fast, way too soon, way too hard. And this is very evident when it comes to things like golf season. I know right now people are starting to get back into golf or tennis or pickleball, and they haven't played in months and months and months. And then first day back, they're going right back to what they were doing prior. Okay. That's kind of like somebody who goes to rehab and then goes right back to doing whatever drug they did. And then they end up overdosing because they went back to their old dosage instead of revving back up. Okay. Your body does not like doing that. Your body needs to experience a little something first and then gradually build up. Now, this is not for the last example I gave. This is for exercise. So when it comes to golfing, for example, go for 9 holes instead of the full 18 on the first go, if you can reserve yourself and hold back. If it comes to pickleball, do it for an hour instead of for 3 or 4 hours. When it comes to weights in the gym, instead of going right back to the weights that you did in high school, go with something that feels good, feels easy for right now. All right. That's the goal, is to put yourself in a position, since we're focusing on exercises here and how not to get hurt, find a variation and a weight that is easy, okay? Very easy. So let's say you see something on Instagram and it's like, ooh, that's cool, I want to try that. Find out what that easiest variation is to start with and then build from there. So easy example for this would be, instead of doing, say, a reverse lunge, you could do a split squat while holding on to something for balance. And a split squat is basically like when you step back into a lunge, imagine if your foot was stuck in cement, your front and your back foot, and you just go up and down. That's a split squat. And That way there's a lot less motion and you're holding on to something, so there's not that coordination requirement, and you can just focus on the up and down motion and make sure that that feels good. And when we talk about motion, one of the best ways to start doing an exercise is to go slow. So on that split squat example, instead of just going up, down, up, down, up, down, and just trying to get it over with zero intention, instead go 3 seconds down, maybe a pause at the bottom, and then 3 seconds up. And you can do this with literally any exercise. That could be a bench press, a lat pull down, a bicep curl, 3 seconds down, 3 seconds up. And what that does is, number one, it helps teach tension, which is a very, very big deal, especially on the compound moves like squats and deadlifts. Like when you go slow on those, all of a sudden your core tightens up because it has to support the entire way up and down. You're not just using momentum to stand or to go down and up. Okay. You actually have to stay tight the entire time. So that's a big, big one. And number two, you might find that you deviate a little bit in weird ways because our body likes to cheat exercises without us really focusing extra hard on them. So you might do something weird during the rep and you're like, oh, that's what's causing it. Alrighty, I'll just put extra intention on doing it the proper way that does not hurt. So it could be a really good tell of like what is going wrong during it. And you might be surprised. A lot of people think it's on the way down. Honestly, I see it a lot in people like on the way up. So like, for example, people that are squatting, it's not so much that they're going down the wrong way, it's that they're coming up without that tension or in weird ways, and other exercises too, like that. The next thing is, make sure you judge your performance and your progression based on how you feel tomorrow, not in the moment. If it's a really risky move that you have never tried before, that you're not really sure about, wait to see how you feel tomorrow. And this is very good practice for when you're just starting working out in general. Don't go super hard, super fast, super early, because chances are it's just going to result in you being debilitatingly sore and or hurt. So do something easy and then feel it out. If tomorrow feels good, then you can say, you know what? That was good. And you want a little soreness. It's always going to be a little bit, like we call it like a novel stimulus. And a novel stimulus is basically the first time you do something, you're going to be sore. Like, for example, I ran a mile for the first time and I don't know how long yesterday. Yeah, my calves are sore. Did I overdo it? I actually did overdo it a little bit. I probably should have done a half mile instead of a full. But if I did that half mile, I'd still feel a little soreness, and it's not to the point where it's debilitating. Like I can't walk down the stairs without being like, "Ooh," or you know exactly what kind of soreness I'm talking about. There's like debilitating, and then there's nice. You want that nice soreness where it's like, I felt like I did something. I feel that muscle did its job and it's a little tired today, but it's not too bad. That's what we want to feel like. And then once you get to that point where you're like, okay, this is solid, this is good, my body's feeling it in all the right places, like in the muscles, not the joints. Okay. Then add weight, or you could go to a harder variation and just do that over and over and over again to the point where your body is adapting properly. And at the end of the day, making you more resilient, because that's the goal here when it comes to exercise, is to, unless you're a competitive athlete, if you're trying to live your best life and feel good and stay injury free as long as you possibly can, then you want to build resilience, and you want to do that in whatever form it is. So you can do any exercise, and it's just a measure of meeting yourself where you're at and building resilience in that motion that you're doing. So whether that's a normal deadlift or maybe a rotational deadlift or anything like that, it may be a curtsy lunge instead of a regular lunge. You can do all these different exercises, assuming that your body is ready for them. There's no pre-existing history of like injury that you might piss off. Like if there's been a surgically repaired limb or something like that, then yeah, you proceed with caution, do the things you know you're good with and that your surgeon and your PT have told you are good to do, then definitely. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, understand that the goal is resilience, and you got to figure out what that looks like for you in your specific situation. And along the way, tweaks and injuries, or tweaks will definitely happen. Injuries might not, if we take all the stuff that I just talked about into account. And if you want more guidance when it comes to sleep, stress, nutrition that I mentioned earlier, because I kind of glazed over them a little bit, go back to previous episodes. I cover all that stuff ad nauseum. I feel like I pretty much mention it at some point every single episode. So definitely check out previous ones. And when it comes to the tweaks versus injuries, learn from the tweaks. Okay. You will have, sometimes you'll come out of a session and be like, ooh, that didn't feel right. And then next time, try and figure out where that came from and learn from it, so that way it doesn't keep doing it. Because That's usually the reason a lot of people get hurt. Stereotypical example is that guy in the gym that is constantly holding his shoulder, rotating it, but then he goes and bench presses, which he knows is pissing it off and not really adapting any part of the bench press. He's just doing it that way because he's always done it. Okay, that's where you want to learn, okay, this is tweaking, this is hurting. Let's change some things so that that feels better instead of pushing through it because no pain, no gain, right? We know that's bullshit. Come on now. Okay. Be smart, understand what your body wants, understand what your body needs, and play it smart so that that way you could be around for a long time and staying healthy and feeling amazing. All right. So that being said, if you're not working out at all and you're just like getting a lot of really good information right now, I got you. If you want to start doing some workouts that you can apply these principles to, I have the Toned in 20 workouts in the description, in the show notes. Okay. And in there, 20-minute workouts you could do from home with bands, dumbbells, or just body weight if you don't even have any equipment whatsoever. Now, if nutrition is more your thing that you need help on, there's also a link down there for a free nutrition assessment. I'm just happy to help. Okay. Promise, won't sell you anything. It's just 30 minutes for us to chat and see what can get you going in the right direction. And if you do want to have the conversation about coaching, because you're like, I kind of need somebody in my corner, then we could set up a second call for that. But if you know you need it already, then that's also down there as well. There's a link to check out what coaching is all about. And you and me could have that conversation and see if it's right for you. All right. So that's it for today. Hope you got a lot out of this podcast. I will see you next time. But until then, go kick some ass. Bye-bye.